Well, this past weekend, man, tempers flared at the Colorado game versus Texas Tech down in Lubbock. Now, Colorado went down into Lubbock and they had some things happen to them. And that led to a on-field altercation with Deion Sanders and the referees and Deion Sanders Jr. and Texas Tech ball boy. But before we get off into today's podcast, well, guys, this past weekend, Colorado went down into Lubbock and beat Texas Tech 41-27. And a lot of things transpired during that game. Now, a lot of people have called out the referees for being corrupt and trying to sabotage Colorado and Deion Sanders. Now, you know what happened in that game early. The Texas Tech fan, the student body, they was throwing tortillas on the field. Now, there was one particular play that they was throwing them directly at Travis Hunter, but Travis Hunter did the wild thing. He picked up the tortilla and stuffed it down in his pants, and he continued to play. But on the sideline, they was throwing them at Shiloh Sanders, and what Shiloh Sanders did is he picked them back up and threw them back up in the stands. Now, what happened was there was a stoppage of play, and Deion Sanders went out there to confront the officials and got all up in the officials' face because the officials, I think they was trying to give Shiloh unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. And Deion went to Shiloh's defense and had to have a talk with the refs, and it was a heated discussion. And Deion Sanders don't use curse words. And, I know in the post-game press conference, he said he had to hold back because he almost cussed, but he was livid. He was absolutely livid at the officials. And a lot of people think that a lot of people are trying to sabotage, Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. And what happened was he got into a heated altercation with the referees during the course of that game. Now, that game was stopped midway through, and Texas Tech head coach, he coached Deion Sanders Jr. at Cedar Hill. So Deion Sanders has love for that Texas Tech, head coach, and also, Deion Sanders Jr. as well. So what happened was, they stopped the game, and, the head coach from Texas Tech had to come to midfield and had to address, the student body and the fans about throwing stuff on the field. Now, when you throw things on the field, they was throwing tortillas, they was throwing, water bottles, halfway filled water bottles. And also, Deion Sanders Jr. went on his brother's podcast, Shador, Legendary, and said that they was throwing vape cartridges as well. And he said if one of them would have hit somebody, that would have been a whole different thing. But Deion got into a heated discussion with these referees. I've never seen Deion really rip off into a referee the way he did. Now, we all know what happened at the end of that game. Now, Deion Sanders Jr., Bucky, the creator of Well Off Media, he had an exchange with the Texas Tech ball boy. Now, what happened was at the end of the game, Shiloh Sanders got the scoop and score and got into the end zone, and he did the Deion Sanders shuffle, his father's shuffle. And as he was walking toward the sideline with the ball, the Texas Tech ball boy tried to swipe the ball out of, Shiloh's hand. And Shador stepped up to his defense, but then Bucky, Deion Sanders Jr., got all up in the Texas Tech ball boy's face, and, he wanted all the smoke. And a lot of people are saying that, Deion Sanders Jr. was wrong. But in this sense, I don't think Deion Sanders Jr. was wrong. Now, we all know that Deion Sanders Jr., he played, college football at SMU, but his career didn't go any further. So he created Well Off Media. So he has established himself. So he don't mind being the fall guy for the Sanders crew. Now, if you notice, he was wearing a shirt that was saying the ones that were rejected will be respected. So he's going to stand up for the Sanders clan in all costs. He has nothing to lose because he's positioned himself so well with Well Off Media and what he's doing. And he's trying to be the big bad wolf for the Sanders clan because, you don't want that to fall back on Shador Sanders and hurt Shador Sanders' chances being a, a top pick in the NFL, and also with Shiloh Sanders. So he came to their defense, and I don't see nothing wrong with it. I'm glad that he came to their defense instead of Shedeur Sanders getting into an altercation with the ball boy and, having things go, south or sour in his career. And that'd be a black mark on his record because, going into the NFL, these scouts and coaches, they look back at history, the behavior and things like that. So I'm glad that Deion Sanders Jr. stepped up. So in this sense, he's getting a lot of flack all through the internet. They're going viral. Also, Deion's going viral for the on-field altercation with the referees. So let's take a look at what happened and transpired down in Lubbock. And once we watch this, I'll come back and we'll finish the show. Take a look.
That's football. That's football. Get the heck out of here. Let's play smart. We're ready to play smart. Let's play smart. Let's play smart.
Downstairs, Allison.
Yeah, it's been chippy throughout, and there's definitely been some back and forth exchanges with multiple people on the Colorado sideline with the tortillas and kind of back and forth. The student section was not taking it well. They started yelling some things, throwing things other than tortillas. Shiloh Sanders returned one of those items, essentially, and that has led to the escalation that you're
Now, you see how Deion Sanders reacted. Now, he's coming to defense of all his kids. So what happened was, they didn't, like what, Shiloh did. Shiloh returned some of the items back up into the stands that was thrown down at him. There's video footage of things that was thrown at Shiloh and how Shiloh responded. And that caused the on-field, altercation between Deion Sanders and the referees. Now, I've never seen Deion Sanders get out of pocket like that. And you've seen in that clip, he was almost about to drop the F-bomb, but he held back, as the Christian he is. But, they all saying all over the internet and social media that, the refs had it out for Deion down there in Lubbock. Now, when it comes to Bucky Jr. stepping up to Shiloh's defense after he had the scoop and score, and the ball boy from Texas Tech was trying to get the ball away from him, that's memorabilia before, Shiloh Sanders. And Bucky had the right to come to their defense because, like I said, Bucky has nothing to lose. Now, if they ban Bucky, from a game, that's not going to hurt Bucky. He's established himself well off. He's doing absolutely tremendous in the YouTube media space, man. So right now, he's killing the game, and he's providing a lot of people, the insight in the Colorado locker room with the Buffaloes. So, what he's doing to protect, the Sanders clan, I'm all for it, man. I seen nothing wrong in what, Bucky did, man. He did everything that a big brother would do because he got two little brothers that are trying to chase their dream to go into the NFL. You don't want a bad look on them. You don't want a black eye. So he did the right thing. And same thing with Coach Prime. He stood up for Shiloh Sanders. Once, things got escalated and heated with the things that was thrown at him, he got, he was telling them refs, nah, that's bull jive. You know what I'm saying? Let's play ball. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people, like I said, they think that a lot of people have it out for Deion Sanders because, like Deion Sanders said, a fan only blows when you're hot. And right now, Colorado Buffaloes is hot at 7-2. They control their own destiny to win the Big 12 championship and to get into the playoffs of the college football. So you guys let me know what y'all think about today's episode and what y'all think was, Deion Sanders Jr. in the wrong for stepping up to the ball boy like that after he tried to take the ball away from Shiloh Sanders. I see everybody in the comments section, #salute. And remember, if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, turn your post notifications on so every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger, and we out of here. Catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Droppin' podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.